So I was watching Adacraw's video, and it was just funny to me because I've been saying this in my video all day that the community is split between 55% and 45%. 45% being the casuals and 55% being like the average gamer slash tryhard players. And I was like, let me make a video explaining how to fix Destiny 2 when it comes to the loot, because it's such a simple solution. And I know there's other aspects on why the game is bad right now, like the whole Edge of Fate coming out with Kepler and no content. It's like there's no new strikes that's on Kepler, no PvP maps with Kepler, there's no seasonal activity that came with Kepler, like the Coil and Deep Dive and stuff, or the Dreadnought that we had other seasons for us to grind for new loot and stuff. New loot didn't even come with Kepler, it was just us in the portal. So like there's a lot of content issues on why Edge of Fate died. And then us chasing after a power number for us to get high tier loot, even though I understand Bungie did that for the casuals, because then a casual can get tier 5 loot easily just in case they light level up. There's no skill ceiling to it in order to get tier 5 loot. But as you can see, no casuals finna grind that much, and no freaking tryhard wanted to get their high tier loot from doing that because it's boring and monotonous. So yeah, there's a lot of reason behind that. And anyone that try to spew the fact that Edge of Fate, the game player base died because Bungie catered to the tryhards, that's just completely wrong. And anyone that say caters to casuals, that's completely wrong. We all got fucked. Okay, simple as that. There's so many aspects there. Okay, now this in Adacraw's video, someone he asked them the question: would you want to remove tier 5s from everything except raids, trials, conquests, and dungeons? Now, realistically, this is impossible. Once little Jimmy got that tier 5, he's not letting that go. Bungie cannot come in and take everybody tier 5s away, or make it harder to get tier 5s now after they messed up the loot system. It's just impossible, because you're gonna have people whine. They're just gonna whine about it, even though it could be the healthiest thing for the game. And I would actually incentivize Bungie to just do it and just have the player base cry for a minute, and they'll lick their wounds and get back up. I highly recommend it, because the way loot work right now in the game is terrible. But it was a 55-45 split. People saying yes, people saying no. Now, people that said no don't realize that that's how loot was before Edge of Fate came out. You got the tier 5. Tier 5 is basically just adept weapons, but better. But you got adept weapons from doing harder end content. You did Grandmaster Nightfall, Master Raid, Trials going flawless, and Master Dungeon. Did Dungeon have adept weapons? Nah, but you get what I'm saying. You had to do the in-game content to get adept weapons. So I don't know why 45% people said no when that's how it was before Edge of Fate. Maybe because they don't consider conquests as Grandmaster Nightfalls per week. But yeah, to each their own. But as you can see, 45% of the player base don't want to do a skill ceiling activity in order to get their in-game loot. They want to be able to get the in-game loot without a skill ceiling. Now, and casuals, please comment it down below. Why do y'all want in-game loot when you're not going to be doing in-game content? I always want to know that. If you're a casual player, you should accept casual results, as in you don't need the best loot in the game, because you're not going to be playing the best activities, the hardest activities in the game, because you're a casual player. So please let me know in the comment section, why do you want the best loot in the game if you're not even going to be doing the harder in content? Please let me know. And also, please don't have that little trope in the comment section. I work a 9 to 5. I got a wife and kids, yada yada. We all got a life, okay? We all got a life, unless you're a streamer that your job is to play the game. We all have a life. We all can't put in hours like that. Even if you're a student that go to school, you go to school and got schoolwork, even they not on the game all day. We all understand we got a life, okay? We all going through it. That's not a reason on why the game should be easier for you. We all got a life, and we all understand if I can't put in time for something, I'm not going to get the results of I invest time. And for anyone that is using that excuse, you got to realize, and just me being real with you, no bullshit, no emotions and stuff. You decided to pick up a game that was a live service game and looter shooter. Both of them are known for time investment in order for you to get what you want. Both of them are. Both of them expect their players to grind the game out to get what they want. You chose two genres that's based on grinding. but complain about not having enough time to put into the game. You chose the wrong game genre, and that's just me being serious. And I'm not telling you to stop playing Destiny, but if you are going to play Destiny, you got to understand it's a live service and a looter shooter. 2 grind genre game. Okay? So you got to expect casual results when you put in casual time. Okay? If I was someone that only can put in an hour or 2 to Destiny, I understand I'm gonna get casual results. And me knowing that I get casual results, I'm gonna stick to the casual part of the game. I'm not even gonna worry about the upper echelon in-game content in the game, because I know I don't have the time or the gear to put in to get that. And I got plenty of people in my clan that are casuals, and they're okay with that. They just go about their life. They play Destiny, have fun with the guys, and they hop off. Simple as that. It's not the end of the world. They don't complain, they don't whine, they don't try to change the game to fit their schedule. That's just what it is. So, you know, yeah. He then did a second poll that said, is Destiny 2 casual? 47% said yes, 53% said no, which is still the same balance that I was getting on my videos. It's basically a 45-55% split of people thinking that, well, basically it's a split. 45% is like casual, and then 55% is the tryhards, okay? And they switch, they switch, okay? So it's like a split. It's a split. 50% casuals of the game and 50% gamers / tryhards in the game. So anybody's always saying Bungie need to cater to the casuals. Even if Bungie cater to the casuals, you're losing 50% of the player base. If you say Bungie need to cater to the tryhards or the gamers, you're losing 50% of the player base. So no, Bungie got to cater to both, because if they pick one side or the other, they finna lose 50% of the player base. Okay, I don't think people realize that. But it was interesting to see this, and I was like, okay, let me speak up on how I would fix the game. But then Adam Cross brought up that, and of course he brought up RuneScape, right? Adam Cross brought up RuneScape, and this is what he had to say.
RuneScape 3, that was the casual side of RuneScape, where everybody can jump in and do the thing. And then old school RuneScape, that was for the real gamers. The real gamers. And what happened? Old school RuneScape overtook RuneScape 3. Why? Because turns out people, they like that grind. Now, I don't know.
So basically what he said was, RuneScape did the A/B test, basically. They made RuneScape 3 for the casuals, and they made RuneScape, old school RuneScape, for the gamers that love to grind and stuff. And what ended up happening is, old school RuneScape had a bigger player base and did better than RuneScape 3. So, I want to actually use statistics here. If we look at the popularity.report, where the player count of Destiny in all time, including PC and all that, when Red War first came out, Bungie did a thing that players hated. They made it that every weapon had a static roll. Bungie did this because people was complaining in D1 that they hated they had to spend like 60 tries in raid to get base mental class, or hated that they had to grind PvP all day or something to get the best god roll of IS Lune or something like that, right? So Bungie did this to mitigate RNG. They was like, well, since people hate RNG in the player base, let's make that all weapons have static rolls. So as long as someone get one weapon, they got the god roll. And in retrospect, that sounds like, oh, that's perfect, since they're complaining about, you know, grinding. It did horrible. This is the worst thing Bungie ever seen. They lost all their players all the way to bottom Curse of Osiris because they did static roll loot, so there was nothing to chase, and then the content in the game was not replayable because, one, content not replayable if there's no loot to grind. Once you get what you want, you have no reason to play the activity, and then two, it just lacked fun content. So it's a double whammy. Bungie didn't come back until Forsaken, when they decided, hey, we're gonna add random rolls on weapons again and give y'all content to play. So then Forsaken came out, people was able to play the new activities and grind the new activities for their god rolls and have fun playing the new activities. So this is just a good example to show you guys that no matter what people say in the community about they hate grind and stuff, the game relies off of grind. People just want something fun to play while they're grinding, and they don't want the grind to be chasing after a power level. They want the grind to be the loot itself, okay? People love the loot chase, and D1 proved that. That's what even made the Destiny fan base to begin with. Destiny 1 had fun with the RNG. People got excited seeing Gallahorn drop for them. People got excited seeing base mythical class drop for them. People got excited seeing a god roll drop for them. grind is what built the foundation of Destiny. And if you're someone that don't like that foundation, then again, that's just me keeping it real for you. This just not the game for you. Okay? But if you're willing to join the ride for us, then that's what it is. And if you look at Edge of Fate is in the same dilemma, and the reason why we have the worst player count as it is. Again, I'm mostly focusing on loot here, but I kind of touched on this already about Edge of Fate didn't have no seasonal activities and stuff for us playing stuff, so that's why a lot of players left, because there was no fun to play, and nobody wanted to keep replaying the activity for a light level instead of loot. If it was towards loot for a god roll, it probably would have lasted longer. But the fact it was grind a light level first, then you can grind for that god roll, immediately killed it. Boner gone. No one was bricked up for that. No try hard, no casual, nobody was bricked up for that, okay? And a proof, even more example of this, Call to Arms came out recently, 2 weeks ago. Player count jumped to 300,000. People picked the game back up. A lot of people start playing Destiny again, right? The moment Bungie made it that the patch, they did the patch where everybody get the helmet easy and stuff, they locked the score and dropped the score for everybody to get the helmet and stuff. Everybody got the score needed for the helmet, and then the player count dropped back down even worse. It's at 150 now. So that just goes to show. People was talking about, I was hopping on the game every day, grinding to get my score up, doing Call to Arms, and the numbers started reviving. The numbers started reviving during Call to Arms event, right? People was grinding for their loot and stuff. People was happy. They was able to attune the tower, get their loot and god rolls that they missed out on and stuff. It was like the days like Onslaught kind of. Without the Onslaught activity being amazing, we needed a new activity for Call to Arms. If we had like an Onslaught mode for Call to Arms, it would have been even better. But the stats shows it. When Call to Arms happened, the numbers revitalized and everybody's playing. And in the moment everybody got what they wanted, the number dropped back down to 150. It was at 300,000 and it dropped down to 150. Okay, so this is going to show the player base wants to grind, but they want the grind to be loot focused, and they want content to go with that loot, fun content. A lot of people didn't even come back for Call to Arms because it wasn't no new activity that came with it for the grind competition. But this is for me to just say the best way to fix Destiny right now is, it's very simple. One, we need to buff all exotics. We need to make every exotic OP, okay? Like in Destiny 1. All exotics need to have a power fantasy to it. They need to be OP again. On the contrary, once they do that, exotics need to be low drop rate, just like Destiny 1 again. Everybody got that dopamine from seeing an exotic drop for them that they knew was strong, okay? And again, Destiny 1, the player base was booming. So you can't deny it. These are facts. I'm not just speaking out of my ass. They need to bring RNG back for exotics, and exotics can drop from any activity. I'm talking about if I'm randomly playing Crucible, Gallahorn 2.0 can drop. If I'm randomly doing a strike, Gallahorn can drop. Randomly doing a solo ops activity or whatever, Gallahorn can drop. And if I'm in a raid dungeon, you cast the drift, so that it's available for everyone. Even a casual can be doing an easy activity, and they just get blessed with a strong exotic, and it feels exotic at that point too. You like, oh my god, I just got something so rare. My character is strong. Oh my god, I'm finna go use this, and you have a ball. And another proof of this is when Cloud Strike was out. Cloud Strike, it was a low percent drop rate for it, but when you got it in the Empire Hunt, whatever, everybody got it, was happy to use it, and it was strong. It was strong. PvE and PvP. Best mental class. Everybody get excited when it finally dropped at the end of killing Atheon. It just proved. It just works. The stats prove it. Everybody have these memorable moments in the game, in the player base, and they love it, okay? So we need to make it that exotics are strong again, and they got a low drop rate instead of it dropping at the end of a campaign and in the season pass and freaking just giving away. They gotta take that away. They gotta take all that away. It needs to be exotics are thrown into the game, and it's a rare drop. And now you can find a common ground. Some people may love that they get the exotic at the end of a story and stuff. That's cool. If we keep that, Bungie need to make extra exotics outside of the ones you get at the end of a season pass or at the end of a campaign, okay? So, like next expansion, we getting the 3 exotic pieces, right? We already know we're going to get it from beating the story. Bungie need to add like 2 more extra exotic pieces that you can get, but it's low RNG that drops from you just playing the game. So then every day you're on the game, you know you still have a reason to play, which is to get these exotics you don't have yet, and it's a rare drop, and you just casually playing the game, chasing after your other weapons in the game for god rolls. So that's one thing Bungie need to do to fix the loot system. Second thing, tier 5s. I know people love tier 5s, but we gotta put tier 5 loot behind in-game content. Not raids. Tier 5s need to go as the replacement for the adept weapons from Grandmasters, Nightfall. That's what it gotta be. Tier 5 gotta get behind Nightfall Grandmasters again. So then when people play it, the AdMag get a tier 5. Just like it is right now on Kepler, that no one plays. Because the loot is stagnant on Kepler. And none of the stuff on Kepler is really busted, okay? And you have the loot cave on Kepler once you get to light level up. Tier 5 need to be just like Kepler. We got 2 weekly missions you can play each week. And you get a tier 5 piece of loot for doing those, okay? Every casual can solo that. It's not hard. So I think that's open availability for everybody to be able to get it. You gotta put a little skill into it, but it's not no high skill ceiling like raid or a dungeon or something. So tier 5 loot need to go back behind guaranteed drop in Grandmaster and stuff. But because everybody already got a taste of tier 5 loot, tier 5s also need to have a drop rate for playing regular activities. And not even a low drop rate, just like 30%, 35% chance of at the end of a mission a tier 5 drop for you. So it's not raining like water. It's raining a little too much, okay? It's raining a little too much. Right now, when Renegade comes out, everybody will be getting tier 5s and there's going to be no loot chase. So tier 5 drop rate need to drop to like a good 35%. So it still got some type of chase and feeling to it. You can't say, oh, hollow foil is just the chase. Nobody cares about a lot of besides the Solstice event, a lot of hollow foil designs aren't really good. I'm gonna be honest, they don't look good. Solstice has probably the best one with the ocean beach design on the guns. I don't care about my gun glowing blue or glowing green like Festival of the Lost. Like, you gotta be a little bit more creative than that for me to chase after a hollow foil, okay? But that's what they gotta do with tier 5s, and that's what they gotta do with exotic. Raid need to stop having tier 5 loot and stuff. Okay? It should just be guaranteed tier 5 loot, I'm gonna be honest. Raid, dungeons, that's it. Raid and dungeons, what make that loot rare is the fact that it's a raid or dungeon loot. Most people can't play raids and dungeons. Okay, I think it's like only 15% of the player base can play raids and dungeons, right? I don't think raid need to have no complicated high tier system because the loot in raid and dungeons is already rare because most people can't even touch it and complete it to get it, right? I think raid and dungeon loot should just be strong. This should be, yeah, that's it. It should just be strong. They can even have their own exclusive loot, perk pool or whatever. They can have their own exclusive perk pool so that incentivize people to try to get inside the raid. Now you're appealing to the casual player. They still get their try hard loot for doing Grandmaster, Nightfall and stuff. They still get their good loot and still have a chance to good loot drop for them. But then the try hard, they still get their exclusive loot from playing raid and dungeon because raid and dungeon already have an exclusive loot pool. Boom, problem solved. Crafting, you can bring crafting back in the game. I'm not a fan of crafting, but I can see its point in the game now if you're doing this little tier system. Make it that you can craft a weapon, but when you craft it, it's a tier 1. And then the person got to play with that weapon and level it up to make it a tier 5. That simple. Don't need to make it more complicated than that. You can still craft your god roll at the enclave and stuff. Only thing is, you can't use your resources to level up the weapon. You actually got to use the weapon, get kills and stuff. That adds some more grind factor to it, so the casuals don't just walk away with broken weapons that they didn't have to work for and implement some type of time into it. Make it still, you gotta grind the levels up on the weapon, and then once you get up to level 17 you get a tier 5. But you can't use resources to make the level go up. You actually gotta use the weapon. So it don't feel like it's just a gimme of a god roll. Okay? Boom. Problem solved. Every weapon don't need to be craftable either. Raid and dungeon weapons, don't make them craftable at all. Okay? Let that be grind the god roll for that. So have an incentive to keep playing the raid over and over again to get that god roll. So it can be broken. Okay? As a player that does in-game content. And then freaking, like I said, people that crafting, make it that, don't make every weapon craftable, but just have a select few so casuals still have something they can put on for any occasion. At least it's good enough to be able to participate in raids and dungeons if they decide to go in it in the future. Okay? And if Bungie want to keep the whole custom modifier thing, that can be a way to mitigate the tier system as well. Where it's like, hey, if you're a casual player playing a solo op mission by yourself, based on a certain amount of modifiers you put on, that can guarantee a tier 4 dropping for you. But if you put on a lot of crazy modifiers, then that can guarantee a tier 5 dropping for you, because you made the difficulty up there on that point where it's like you deserve a tier 5 for completeness. You know what I'm saying? Something like that where everybody can be happy. But if you're a casual player, you're probably like, well, I can't do a harder. I'm not that good at the game to do a hard modifier. Don't worry. Whatever modifiers you put on, that increasing the drop rate of that tier 5 dropping for you to increase. So again, I already said the stagnant drop rate for tier 5 would probably be like a 30%, right? But if you're a casual player and you get a little bit bold, you throw some modifiers on, you probably be able to buff that tier 5 drop rate to like 45%. You know what I'm saying? So that everybody can be happy in the community, the gamers and the casual players. Last but not least, bring back exotic quests. I don't know why them gone, but I had a ball playing some exotic quests and doing some step-by-step things to get a guaranteed exotic. You had a grind for some of them, but that ain't bothered me. It gave me something to do. And a lot of you guys probably like, I don't believe in this, and then some of you guys probably new gen players of Destiny. Like this concept may be like, some of the concepts I said may be like, what? Why is he saying this? You had to be a D1 player or someone around Destiny during the good times where all of this is what made players keep playing the game. If you were missing exotic, this gave you a reason to grind the game. If you were missing that gyro, it gave you a reason to play the game. Every activity had, most activities in the game had its own exclusive loot pool, so it gave you to keep playing that certain activity over and over again. Then he bring back exclusive strike loot, where playing a strike drops certain exclusive loot. Like if you did the Dark Blade strike, there was an exclusive helmet in there for Titans, where you were able to wear the Dark Blade helmet. Or it was a strike in D1 with Scion Flares, where if you killed the Scion Flare, it was a drop rate for it to drop his cloak for 100 to wear. And there were 3 different colors you had to grind. So people kept grinding those strikes over and over again to get that special loot. People love that special feeling they get from getting some exclusive loot with excitement, whether it was a low drop rate of a exotic or, you know, god roll or just loot in general. We strive off of that. That's what Bungie been striving off of since 2014, I believe, is when Destiny came out. 2014, 2011, one of them. That's what Bungie strive off of. That's what made Bungie such a fun game in its own sense. And if you're someone that's not used to that, again, I just think you picked up the wrong game. That's just what it is. That's what Destiny's identity is, and that's whenever Bungie leaned into that identity, that's when the game is doing wonders. It's just doing greatness, okay? So let me know what y'all think about my ideas in the comment section down below. And they also had a thing back then too. I forgot what the buff, but you was able to buy a buff from Xur to give you a higher chance for exotic to drop for you from playing random activities. So that helped mitigate the you know, the RNG a little bit, but people love the grind. And again, the stats prove that it worked. And Bungie got to bring that back when it comes to the loot, and then of course bring exclusive loot to every activity back. It's a dang shame in solo ops the same loot drop for every activity, or if I go to Fireteam op, the same loot drops for every activity. Every activity should have its own exclusive loot pool. It don't gotta be every activity too, but like, you know how they got different roles in Fireteam ops where it's like first 3 roles maybe like reclaimed, and the second 3 roles maybe, you know, that it can be exclusive loot for each row. You know what I'm saying? So like, you got 3 different activities you can play to get the guy where you're trying to go for. But right now, there's no exclusive loot in different missions. There's no RNG really. You get the guy roll easy in the game. There's just no reason to play the game. You have no reason to grind for loot because everybody got the guy roll, and you got no reason to want to play the game because it's the same content over and over again. We don't have nothing like a seasonal activity keep playing over and over again for some exclusive loot. Loot and content go hand in hand. You need both. But Call to Arms kind of proved that if there was some loot in the game to grind for, people would still be playing the game. Simple as that. And yeah, that's what we're missing. I hope Renegade brings an activity that has exclusive loot in it, like the Koyu, like the Dreadnought, like deep dives and stuff. So that's how you can fix Destiny right now on the loot process. And I kind of spoke on a little bit on the content side as well. But that's how you would bring the player base back, not this whole fake argument of cater to the casuals and stuff. Because as you can see, it's a 50-50 split in the Destiny community. You got 50% being casual players and then 50% being gamers. Simple as that. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys always. And until next time, stay up.